I'll call the April 26th Plan Commission meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Hannah here.
Grillo here. Kuczynski here.
Lorick here. David here.
Kuzikowski here.
Holdani here.
Super here.
Chandler here.
And that will get us to the approval of minutes. We're going to take them separately. So let's start with March 22nd. If everybody please take a look.
Holdani moves to accept the minutes.
My apologies, Mayor. Quick question.
Yes.
For the March 22nd minutes, we had approved those on the April 12th meeting?
No, there was not a quorum of an approval.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Because we didn't have enough people present from the March 8th meeting. Although we did have a quorum for that meeting.
Oh, okay.
Holdani moves to approve the minutes of the Oak Creek Plan Commission meeting of Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022.
Super seconds.
Roll call, starting with Hannah.
Hannah, aye.
Grillo abstains. Kuczynski, aye.
Lorick abstains. David, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Holdani, aye.
Super aye.
Chandler abstains.
And if we please take a look at April. We had 3 abstentions. We're okay, right? Okay. April 12th, please.
Kuzikowski makes a motion that the April 12th, 2022 Plan Commission minutes are approved.
30 seconds.
Roll call, beginning with Dawn.
Grillo, aye. Kuczynski, aye.
Lorick, aye. Kavich, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Holdani, aye.
Super abstains.
Chandler, aye. Hannah, aye.
And that will get us to item 4, which is significant common council actions. Carrie, if you would, please.
Council approved the following: an ordinance to approve a conditional use permit amendment to allow for an indoor recreation facility, fitness center, within a portion of the existing multi-tenant industrial building on the property at 140 East Rawson Avenue. An ordinance approving a conditional use permit amendment to allow a maximum of 85 dogs on site at any time for the existing animal boarding, kennel, and dog daycare facility located at 1075 West North Branch Drive. An ordinance approving a rezone to RD1 two-family residential, no change to the FW floodway or FF flood fringe districts, and to establish a planned unit development on portions of the properties at 641 and 819R East Drexel Avenue, and a resolution approving a certified survey map submitted by David Decker of Decker Properties, Inc. for the properties at 8100 and 8146 South 27th Street and 8100 South Orchard Way. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Item 5 is Board of Housing and Zoning Appeal actions. None were taken over the last 2 weeks since we last met. And item 6 is quarterly Parks, Recreation, and Commission actions. Our next report will be June the 28th, 2022. Which will lead us right into new business. Item A, it is a review of a final plat submitted by Jessica Ganther F Street Development Group for the proposed Lakeshore Commons. This is phase 1. It's a subdivision located at 4005 East Lake Vista Parkway. Carrie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Plan commissioners may recall that this was reviewed at a previous meeting this year. The current zoning is the traditional neighborhood development plan unit development for Lakeshore Commons. This is for phase 1 only. It is a final subdivision plat. Really no change from the preliminary plat that was reviewed. Again, this contains lots 1 through 9 for development and outlots 1 through 4 for stormwater and public amenities. There were subsequent pages that showed easements, wetlands, etc., and the dedication of the public streets throughout. Condo plats that are also for Lakeshore Commons Phase 1 are in the subsequent agenda item for this evening. So we will take this in about 2 kind of areas. The first is the northwest corner and then the southeast corner of the development itself. Really, again, no change from the preliminary plat, just showing these lots. Everything in gray on the right-hand side, if you can kind of see that. Those are outlots, so those have stormwater infrastructure and other pieces of public infrastructure. Each of the colored lots, so the purple, the orange, the red, the blue, and the partial green, those are all lots for development. And the green kind of continues on to the second page, as does the blue. So again, everything in color, those are lots for development. Anything in white on this is either an outlot, or you'll notice that there's kind of an odd kind of bulbous area that goes from the northeast down to the southwest. That's part of a protective area that is going to be included as part of Lake Vista Park that is owned by the city and will be retained by the city. But anything outside of that, that's in white, that's not right of way, that will be an outlot. With that in mind, just keep in mind that we also have infrastructure that is currently under installation and construction out at Lakeshore Commons. So you may have seen or heard some of that activity. And there are some deviations from Chapter 14 specifically regarding subdivision plats that have been included in your packets for consideration. That is included in the suggested motion for approval on the screen. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Again, we've seen most of this. It seems a little repetitive, but there is a method to the madness. So applicants, I'm sure you're with us. Is there anything you'd like to say, or residents? I know it's not a public hearing, but you guys did come out. If you'd wish to say something, please approach the podium. Name and address. Yep, come on up, ma'am. Need your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Jessica Ganther, F Street Development Group, 1134 North 9th Street in Milwaukee. Just want to clarify that it's the final subdivision plat that we're approving tonight?
Yes, this is the final subdivision plat, and the next item on the agenda are the condo plats.
Okay, thank you.
Got it?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, seeing no one else wishing to speak, we will go to the commission. Commissioner Hannah, would you like to start us off if you're prepared?
Yes. Can you go back to the previous slide? Okay. You see that odd area that you said is protected, and that the inside's kind of a wiggly one just to the north of it. Is this, you said, is not part of the right of way? If you can just hover over your cursor or something.
So, let's see.
Yes.
That's all part of Lake Vista Park. That's city-owned property. That is not right-of-way. That is a protected wetland and environmental area.
Okay. How about the pink lot to the south of it, I guess?
It's right here.
No, to the right. Yep.
That's a lot that is proposed for development as part of the PUD.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Is that it, Christine?
Yep.
Okay, Dawn?
No questions for me.
Ashley?
I just want comment from engineering that the developer still needs to adhere to the conditions of the PUD.
Greg?
No questions, thank you.
Chris?
No questions, sir.
Don?
Are we going with calling it in the motion a preliminary subdivision plat?
No, I changed that on the screen.
Oh, it says change on screen. Okay. No other questions. Thank you.
Okay. Fred?
No questions.
Chauncey?
I do have a question. Carrie, for the deviations, this is per the request of the applicant?
That's correct.
Okay, so I do have questions for the applicant.
Jessica Ganther, F Street Development Group, 1134 North 9th Street.
Can you provide more information in regards to the deviation for item 14, section 14.100, improvements required? It's saying the developer has requested a waiver of this requirement to install public improvements. Can you provide more information?
Sure. So at a high level, this process is atypical from what the city and the typically would go through. Typically, improvements are completed on the property, buildings, infrastructure, and then the plats are recorded to dedicate streets and roadways and utilities and things like that. We're asking that these plats be recorded now so that we can move forward with financing and sales of units.
Okay, record now versus afterwards?
Correct.
Okay. And Carrie, is that acceptable with the PUD?
What the PUD required is the deviations from code to be submitted as part of, actually the preliminary plat, but we kind of missed that, so they had to be submitted as part of the final plat approval. And just a correction, for final plat approval, what's typically required is the installation and certification of all public infrastructure, not buildings.
Oh, thank you.
So it would be the roadways and the water, sewer, electric, cable, those kinds of things that would be in the general rights of way and the easements. And this is an atypical development, as Jessica noted. So as part of the PUD, we did have some deviations from the standard kind of process in order. That was laid out in section 10 of the PUD conditions and restrictions that were included in your packets. So the deviation requirements or the requirement for the list of deviations from chapter 14 were included as part of this request. So this is, again, asking for final plat approval to be recorded so that the lots that are going to be for development purposes, even though the infrastructure is still under construction, can move forward, they can record the plats, and they can obtain financing to then move forward with sales. So yes, it's a completely abnormal process, but it's, you know, it's a development that has been anticipated to be outside the realm of the normal process.
Okay. And then my next question is in regards to the deviation for the easement locations. So can you provide a little more information in regards to that suggestion to, that it will not be meeting that 12-foot wide easement?
Yes, I might need Ryan's help on this from Kapoor.
Ryan Bierstock with Kapoor, 7711, Port Washington, Milwaukee. So the 12-foot easement is in reference to, I guess, what exactly the question is?
So the deviation is in regards to the utility easements, that they have to be at least 12 feet wide. However, there's a deviation saying you want it less than 12 feet. Just wanted to understand the why behind that.
So I think you might be referencing the We Energies easements that are on site. Due to the tight nature of the site with how the structures are located so close to each other, that 12 feet couldn't be achieved in some instances. So We Energies was accepted to deviate from that slightly, which also falls within your code as well.
So they did approve that or did not? Because I didn't see that in our packets.
The We Energies?
Yeah.
Yes. We've been coordinating with We Energies on their easements as well.
Other utility easements that are coordinated through the city are still being worked through with the water and sewer utility.
Okay.
Whatever the end result is in terms of utility easement with requirements, that's really going to be on each of the individual utilities.
Okay.
Okay. So the minimum requirement here is likely going to change based on those end user needs.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I guess comes back to me. Those were really good questions, very observant. And again, you know, it's been noted a couple times. This is a traditional, it will be a traditional neighborhood, but it won't be traditional in the sense of Oak Creek. It's far denser, it's far tighter in proximity to what they're working with. And as Carrie said, it's a little non-traditional too, given the challenging nature of it. Former brownfield site that's now up for redevelopment. So that's where you're seeing, you know, everything we went through with different setbacks, easements, and even the process going forward, as Carrie noted with the questions. And then, of course, that area that became part of Lake Vista. You know, we had to go through that and delineate all that through the DNR and make sure our floodways, our flood fringe, our wetlands, I guess. I got it covered out of one of the three, right? Either way, it kind of held up, and we're really at a flow here as to what we're doing with the infrastructure, trying to plan it and get it in and not have to pull everybody off. So, we're trying to work as well as we can with contractors, developers, DNR, and all parties that are affected by this. So, other than that, I don't have any comments, just those commentaries. So if there's nothing more, we'll look for a motion on 7A.
Rourke moves to approve the final subdivision plat for Lakeshore Commons submitted by Jessica Ganther F Street Development Group for the property at 4005 East Lake Vista Parkway with the following conditions. Number one, that all relevant code requirements and conditions of the traditional neighborhood development, planned unit development remain in effect. Number two, that all conditions of approval from the January 11th, 2022 Plan Commission review of the multi-tenant and townhouse buildings on the proposed Lot 8 remain in effect. Number three, that all reviewing agency comments, if any, are incorporated as required. Number four, that all revisions to the plat are submitted to the Department of Community Development prior to submission of permit applications. Number five, that all required development and stormwater agreements and land use permits are coordinated with the engineering department. And number six, that all water and sewer utility connections are coordinated with the Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call, beginning with Ashley.
Krasinski, aye.
Rourke, aye.
Bukavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Ladani, aye. Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye. Hannah, aye. Hello, aye.
Okay, well, we'll get us to 7B. That is condominium plats again. Review a request submitted by Jessica Ganther, F Street Development Group for the Lakeshore Commons Master Condominium Plat and the Residence and Clubhouse at Lakeshore Commons Condominium Plat for Phase 1 of the Lakeshore Commons Traditional Neighborhood Development Plan Unit Development on the property at 4005 East Lake Vista Parkway. Carrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a little bit unusual as well. We have two condo plats that are kind of interdependent on each other for Phase 1 of Lakeshore Commons. Still the same area, still the same parcel that we're looking at. The reason that we have these three different plats is one divides the property itself. That's the subdivision plat. That also dedicates the public roadways. The condominium plats are establishing the condominium for Phase 1, and it's in two parts. The master condo provides for the infrastructure common elements and the initial units, which are the areas in which the buildings will be constructed. So that's one condo. Then the residences and clubhouse creates the building layouts on the master units. So that's why they're kind of interdependent. There's a whole host of reasons why there are going to be multiple condo plats, and each one of these is expandable, meaning it's anticipating future development phases for Lakeshore Commons. We've had these documents reviewed and vetted by the city attorney's office. We've been working with multiple attorneys on this, including the applicant's attorneys, to ensure that all of the requirements, not only for city purposes in terms of codes, but also for the terms of the development of those properties, which incorporates, de-restrictions, et cetera, existing environmental permits and approvals that are in place, those protections, those are all incorporated into these documents. Now, the one thing that was included in the report that said it was a suggestion for some language, that's been incorporated, but it was incorporated post report and packet preparation. So those revised documents have not been provided to you, but we've been assured that that information, that language that was requested by our city attorney was incorporated into those revised documents. What's on the screen right now is the master condominium plat. Again, this is what is creating the public infrastructure and the common elements and the initial units. And the condominium layout just kind of gives you how each of those units are divided up. So while we had kind of lots, these are kind of breaking it up further into blocks, if you will. They're not exactly called blocks, they're called units. And then the residences and clubhouse condominium plat looks fairly similar, but then it breaks it down even further into those individual condo unit areas. So just going, in the northeast corner again, it kind of breaks down each of the units. So this is kind of showing you how each of the condo areas is going to be broken up in terms of what is included. going into the central area, which also includes the multi-tenant residential buildings that were previously approved and the clubhouse area. And then the southeast corner, which includes a mix of single-family and single-family attached, and those configurations for the villas that we had looked at as part of the PUD. All of that in mind, there is a suggested motion for approval with a couple of conditions. Again, that these documents have been reviewed and vetted by the city attorney's office, so staff is in support of this information. The one thing that you can probably, oh, no, it wasn't included as a condition. So there's nothing that needs to be eliminated. These are the conditions that are presented for consideration. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Once again, I'll invite anybody up for comment, even though we're not in public hearing, but if you wish to speak. Okay, seeing no one, I will go right to the commission. Chauncey, you want to start us off?
No questions, thank you.
Zed?
No questions.
Don?
No questions.
Chris?
No questions, thank you.
Greg?
No questions, thank you.
Ashley?
No questions, thank you.
Dawn?
Nothing for me.
Christine?
Nothing for me.
Wow, batting 1,000, you got nothing out of me either. It's pretty well laid out and straightforward, so I won't delay it. We'll put it right up for a motion.
Zukowski makes a motion that Plan Commission approves the Lakeshore Commons Master Condominium Plat and the residences and clubhouse at Lakeshore Commons Condominium Plat submitted by Jessica Ganther, F Street Group, Development Group for the property at 4005 East Lake Vista Parkway with the following conditions. One, that all relevant code requirements and conditions of traditional neighborhood development planned unit development remain in effect. Two, that all conditions of approval from the January 11th 2022 Plan Commission review the multi-tenant and townhouse buildings on the proposed Lot 8 remain in effect. 3, that all remaining agency comments, if any, are incorporated as recorded. 4, that all revisions to the plats, bylaws, and declarations are submitted to the Department of Community Development prior to recording.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call, beginning with Greg.
Lork, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Ladani, aye. Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye. And I. Sirlo,
Pipchinsky, aye.
Okay, we'll get us to item 7C. And this is a conditional use permit amendment. And it is to review a request submitted by Paul Johnson Heritage Funeral Homes for an amendment to the existing conditional use permit to allow a funeral parlor with cremation services on the property at 7625 South Howell Avenue. Carrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some of you may remember that this used to be the location of the Oak Creek Police Department. So the building is being proposed for reuse for the Heritage Funeral Homes as a funeral parlor with cremation services. At least that's a category as mentioned by code. The current zoning is M1 CUP. The proposal is actually to have this be their headquarters. It'll have office space. It will have backroom space. It will also have the crematorium, but they are not proposing to have any services here. No changes to the exterior building or the site itself. Site plan is currently on the screen. There is existing parking on the property as well. So typical hours of operation for the funeral home are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. There are some 24/7 activities as would be required for off-site service preparation. A maximum of 20 employees are anticipated, 2 to 6 on site at any time during the typical office hours. As far as parking is concerned, that was previously constructed on the property to serve not just the former police department, but some uses that have come through since then. Code doesn't specify parking requirements for funeral parlors. However, a minimum for general service is 1 for every 250 square feet. That would be 39 stalls, and there's at least 40 that are provided on site. So we have all that taken care of without the need for any site modifications. The one thing that staff noted were that the trash receptacles are not currently in an enclosure, and code does require them to be in an enclosure. The location that they are currently in is fine. It's actually at the end of the rear parking lot, so it's on the west side of the building. So just an enclosure that would be in conformance with code would be something that we would appreciate the applicant providing. Turning to the conditions and restrictions, this is an amendment to existing, so there are some upgrades that we've done since then, but what we're doing in terms of these proposed conditions and restrictions is just kind of bringing them more in line with what current code requires. So if you turn to page 2, under section 3, site and use restrictions, maintenance and operation requirements, uses allowed on the property shall be limited to 1 funeral parlor with cremation services. Those uses allowed by the M1 manufacturing district, previous ordinances, conditions and restrictions, and all applicable sections of code. There shall be no outdoor storage of vehicles, equipment, merchandise, parts, supplies, etc. All storage shall be interior to the buildings. There is one other storage building on the property. This is also stating that solid waste and recycling is the responsibility of the owner. And then this is the part where we say that the recycling and trash receptacles need to be in an enclosure in accordance with code. Under section 4, performance standards, basically just identifying or acknowledging that there are performance standards that are required by code in section 170510. We do not anticipate that there are any portions of those performance standards that would be in violation with this proposal. Access and parking is just what's basically existing. There are no new or proposed access changes. Under 7, setbacks. These setbacks are both acknowledging what was approved for the conditional use permit, as well as what is required by code now. So the off-street parking is referencing current code sections. Time of compliance is the typical 12 months. If there are any conditions that prevent the applicant from establishing the use within that 12 months, they have the option to either request an extension, or if the conditional use permit happens to expire, they can come back and ask for approval all over again. So there is no site plan that is included as would be typical with a conditional use permit, but that is because the use is interior to the building and there's no changes to the site itself, which is already developed. So if there are any questions, be happy to answer them. Otherwise, there is a suggested motion for approval on the screen. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Applicant, anybody like to say anything, or you want to go right to the commission? Need your name and address, sir?
Yes, sir. My name is Mark Reese. My address 8605 West 5 Mile Road in Franksville. It's our honor to be here. We're looking forward to moving we're presently in 3 different locations: embalm at one building, paperwork at another building, and cremations in another building. And we'd like to bring that all back here and in one building. It'd be much more efficient. We're looking forward to being in the city, as well as, we have the funeral home on 27th Street too. For 35 years, I remember standing before you. Well, not you. So, yeah, you bet. It's something, no doubt about it. Oak Creek's been very good to us, and we're looking forward to lunch. A lot of lunch places here, no doubt about it. Do you have any questions for me? I suppose that's your job. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
Again, it's a very creative reuse of the building, and appreciate you considering Oak Creek. So we'll go to the commission and see if they have questions, sir. And if they do, I'm sure you'll be able to answer. So you want to start us off?
No questions for me?
Fred?
No, I'm fine. No questions.
Don?
No questions.
Chris?
No questions from me either.
Greg?
No questions, thank you.
Ashley?
No questions, thank you.
Dawn?
Nothing for me.
And Christine?
Yes, actually I do. So I'm reading on the letter from Matthews Environmental Solution, the equipment that it's used for the cremation.
Yes.
That it's environmentally friendly and there will be no odor or smoke or anything from that sort. Has this ever been an incident where it did break and it did cause some of those smoke or pollution or some sort of release in the environment?
No, not at all. The units today compared to what we bought 20 years ago is night and day. And on this particular property also, we have a gigantic generator. This thing could power half of Oak Creek. It's incredible. And if the power should happen to go out when you're cremating somebody, it will kick in and will turn on all those blowers and afterburners. It's a gas run a machine. It's gas. So
Also, there will be any like ceremony there? Is it, or just like the cremation?
nope, it's just employees.
Oh, just employees? There will
Just
be no
employees.
Public or,
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. Not at all.
okay,
No,
all right, that's
Yep.
it, thank you.
you're welcome. You bet.
Okay, back to me, Assistant Chief Havey, fire, any concerns? Something kind of new. I always say we were always looking for things we don't have in Oak Creek. So I think we just checked the box here, at least to my knowledge.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I could sat a little bit closer tonight. We have no concerns. However, we do, when the building plans get submitted, we'll review for conformity with fire code compliance because this is a new occupancy. So we'll work with the, when those plans are submitted, we'll ensure a code is provided.
I just out of curiosity, the cremation part, is it in the back garage? Because that was our former police station. Is it back in the garage or is it in the building itself? Do you know, Mike?
I haven't seen the actual interior building plans yet, exactly where that's going to be located,
Okay.
but I would assume that it is inside the building.
I know it's just for the conditional use permit. We haven't been there yet, but just curious.
The floor plan that was included in your packet, it puts it in the main building, not in the accessory building.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Carrie. And then I guess this question's for Carrie. Carrie, is there a sunset on this conditional use?
We didn't
10-year
establish
deal?
a sunset on this conditional use. If the plan commission wishes to establish one, you can certainly do so. Typical is about 10 years.
If staff didn't feel a need, I don't know if we have to. I know we've been doing that in other circumstances.
Correct. We have been in other circumstances. It was just not something that, because it's a conditional use permit amendment, it's a little bit difficult, but we can enumerate the uses that are allowed on the property. We can say that this one has a sunset of 10 years if that's what the plan commission wishes to recommend to the council.
My hope is that they're here for a long, long time. Not as long as I'm here. A little inside joke there, but anyhow, but if they were to sell a business or something like that, would the conditional use go with the business?
What we can say is that typically the conditional use permit runs with the land. What we can say is that should the use terminate, and is in a state of, well, no, it wouldn't be disrepair. It would be essentially that the cessation of the use that was approved by the conditional use permit for a certain period of time, that's typically 12 months, 6 to 12 months. That kind of nullifies the approval. They would have to go back through the approval again. So it's almost like an abandonment of a use where the property is no longer in continuous use for what was approved. So that's for any business really that has a conditional use permit. So we've seen other locations where, for instance, a gas station has gone out of business and the property has not been used as a gas station for a certain period of time. That approval has been revoked. They have to go through the process again. So that's kind of typical, but what we can definitely say is we can enumerate the uses that are allowed and say that this one is, subject to the 10-year. And at that point, prior to the expiration, they can come back and ask for the extension of the conditional use permit.
Okay, I guess I don't want to make it harder on them. I was just wondering if, they cease to do business or something along those lines.
Staff can incorporate some language for the council consideration.
Yes, sir.
one more thing, if I may.
Yes.
For your knowledge, funeral homes never really ever go out of business.
No, I know.
They're always bought by somebody else. I mention that so that you're aware that might happen. I'm third generation. My dad, my uncle, my grandpa. He's the fourth generation over there. So
no, I realize that. I'm just trying to think ahead. We've run into situations and we never completely cover everything, but we try.
Sure.
And again, if you guys were to say, oh, we decided to go south to Racine County or something, or, found a better deal or what have you, or somebody just drove up with a truckload full of money for the building and you decided to leave. Just how it would go. All right. That's all.
Okay.
So, okay, Carrie, is that something you add or we ain't worried about it here?
We'll wordsmith it for council.
Okay. And then, you will. Okay. All right. I messed that whole easy thing up. So, with that motion, please.
Secret moves that the planning commission recommends that the common council approves a conditional use permit amendment for a funeral parlor with cremation services on the property at 7625 South Howell Avenue after a public hearing and subject to conditions and restrictions.
Kuzikowski will second.
Roll call, beginning with myself. Aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Hold aye.
Secret aye.
Chandler, aye. And aye. Beloy.
Kipchinsky, aye.
Lorik, aye.
Okay, that gets us to the end of a very short agenda, but a very impactful one there going forward. So just a couple announcements, very quickly. We had the cleanup day on Saturday. It was very successful. I want to thank all the volunteers, groups that came out from the various unions, civic groups that helped us. We must have collected at least 30 bags throughout the square here. Community, the Historical Society got 20, Bender Park got another 10, 15. You made a difference in the community. Really, really appreciate that. Dawn, you want to plug the farmer's market?
Yes, farmer's market starts in 17 days.
Yes, very much. And not more importantly, but we do have our boards and commission appreciation on the 28th. Hopefully I will see you all there. We're at Divine. It's another business that was temporarily dark that's been revived. And so I'm looking forward to seeing all you and of course, all the other boards and commissioners that really helped this city along. So thank you all. With that.
Just one.
Oh, yes.
I love that you guys are very appreciative of this short agenda. I apologize that it's not going to repeat for the next one. So just be prepared. It is a rather lengthy one and it will have some discussion. So
Carrie, what date is that?
May 10th.
I will not be here. Happy coincidence. No, I'm actually out of town that week. Sorry. So we'll have to make sure you have a quorum.
Yep. So if anybody has any conflicts, please let me know. Like I said, it is going to be a rather lengthy agenda, so I appreciate your patience and all of your hard work in advance. We'll do our best to get you packets as soon as we possibly can. We've been made aware that there are some changes again with the post office in terms of their delivery. We have been trying the best we can to get you packets on time. We don't really have a whole lot of control over what they do. We tell them that it's local delivery, but if they choose to send it through Milwaukee, we try.
And again, they are sent out electronically. So if you'd like to bring your pad, you can hook to the Wi-Fi here and have it electronically as well. I do that at some of my meetings, save some paper. So.
And we will be at some point toward the end of the summer, maybe early fall, having another Plan Commission workshop. That will be something where we invite the city attorney in to kind of talk about a little, give it a little bit of a refresher on some procedure, maybe a couple of topics, and do a Q&A. So if you have anything that you'd like to discuss, things that you are curious about or you've heard or things that we've experienced during reviews that you'd like some, further input from the city attorney on, please let me know so that we can have some time to prepare those materials. But we haven't scheduled it yet. It's going to be whenever we can fit it in, whenever we have an agenda, kind of like tonight. But it'll be toward the end of the summer, maybe fall.
Perfect. Okay, if there's no other announcements, questions, adjournment, please.
Grillo moves to adjourn at 6:42.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call, beginning with Chris.
Guzekowski, aye.
Aldani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, I.
Anna, I. Grillo, I.
Chinsky, aye.
Clark, aye. David, aye. Thank you all. Appreciate you coming out.